I honestly thought that the solution, the thing that would magically give me freedom in my business, was if I just got more clients, because more clients meant more money and more money meant more freedom, right? But unfortunately, this wasn't the case. The things that demanded my time and energy, they only grew as my business grew. And the little problems that existed in my business at that point in time, they also grew. As the business grew, the problems grew. So I ended up burning it all to the ground and I started again. I started letting go of all of my clients and I started the current iteration of my business with the intention of scaling it. And this is where I realized how important it is to start your business as you wish to continue. Hey, welcome back to Imperfect Action. This is episode 732. Today, I'm sharing a couple of the ways that I accidentally blocked myself from creating freedom in my business. Ultimately, we don't know what we don't know. And in hindsight, now looking back on the past 6 or so-ish years of my business, I never quite know how long I've been in business because there have been so many different iterations. But looking back on the past years, it's so clear about all of the things that I didn't realize were important at the time or realize the mistakes I was making at the time because I simply didn't know that they were mistakes. We don't know what we don't know. And I found myself in that spot where I know that many of you are at right now, where I was busy, I had clients, but I had no freedom and I wasn't quite making the income that I wanted to make yet. I was working one-on-one with marketing clients and I knew that the only real way to scale that model was to start building out an agency. So I hired a few people to work for me, to do the marketing content, the copy, the captions for the clients. And that meant that we could take on more clients, but I still had no freedom. And I was no longer doing the work that I enjoyed doing, which was the client work. I was now managing people rather than doing the stuff that I was really good at, which was marketing and client project and the creative stuff. Like that stuff really excited me. And I made all of the mistakes that I'm going to share with you in today's episode. So buckle in. I've got a couple of good ones for you, 6 of them here for you. So mistake number 1, doing the same things over and over and over again in your business and expecting a different result, expecting something to magically change. I honestly thought that the solution, the thing that would magically give me freedom in my business, was if I just got more clients, because more clients meant more money and more money meant more freedom, right? But unfortunately, this wasn't the case. The things that demanded my time and energy, they only grew as my business grew. And the little problems that existed in my business at that point in time, they also grew. As the business grew, the problems grew. So I ended up burning it all to the ground and I started again. I started letting go of all of my clients and I started the current iteration of my business with the intention of scaling it. And this is where I realized how important it is to start your business as you wish to continue. Start with that end vision in mind and then put the foundations in place for that business. I started putting in the foundations for a business that I could scale and still have freedom, even though I was nowhere near that point yet. Okay, so I invested in the systems that would scale with my business. I started putting processes into place. I designed an office suite that was no longer reliant on my time or my team's time. And that way we were able to scale. Mistake number 2, my office suite was mostly reliant on my time or my team's time. And most of what we offered was service-based, strategy or implementation. And while I loved doing the work, it also meant that I had to be available pretty much 24/7 for when something went wrong. I remember so clearly one day when I was living in London, I was about an hour and a half away from home, an hour and a half tube ride from home, and a client's social media post, a client's Instagram post went out really fuzzy. And I didn't have my laptop with me. It was the middle of the day in Australia. It was, I think, evening for me in London, and I couldn't get back to my laptop to fix it up without going an hour and a half back home and then coming back out another hour and a half. I had another client's sales page that was missing a full stop, which to me, I thought, that's not really a huge deal. But they called me on a Sunday night to ask me to edit that. I had client emails that always needed replying to. And I remember being on a yacht in Greece with literally no phone service, holding my arm in the air, trying to reply to a client email on the 1 week that I took offline. So even when I wasn't at my desk, mentally, I was still there. I was still worrying about what was going wrong, what could go wrong, answering calls, answering emails. Mistake number 3. Then I went and built out a library of courses and a membership, and this didn't solve it either. So once I let go of my clients, I started building out a library. I had courses on Facebook ads, Instagram. I had one on email marketing. I was building one out about doing Pinterest marketing, and I had a membership. And this podcast had started to take off. I thought, great, let me create these different paid courses where people can come and learn about the specific marketing things that I'm talking about on the show. And let me create a membership where they can get more premium content, like a deeper dive than what I'm giving on the podcast episodes. Only the thing was that I was the marketing generalist. So the podcast episodes I was sharing, they were tips and tricks. They were how to run your Facebook ads, how to grow your Instagram audience. But then when it came to actually learning about Facebook ads or learning about Instagram, they went to the Facebook ads expert or the Instagram expert rather than the marketing generalist. And the membership was, hey, this is how you're going to learn about marketing. Only I didn't realize my listeners didn't want to learn about marketing. They wanted to make more sales, right? They didn't want to learn about marketing. They wanted to implement the marketing things that would grow their audience, that would grow their business, that would lead to more sales. And month after month after month of delivering masterclasses, bonus podcast episodes, cheat sheets, all of the things that I gave my membership members, that led to content creator burnout, where I ran out of ideas. I was no longer loving it. And as a result of that, I couldn't show up 100% anymore. So I ended up closing that membership. I ended up retiring all of the courses, and I started from scratch with a bit more of an intentional offer suite this time. One that would help my ideal clients at each step of the journey to building an online business that was profitable when they were offline, with each of the different challenges that they face. Offer less, sell more, which helps design that business model that's going to give you freedom in your business so you don't end up in the situation where I was. Boost your brand superfans to grow your audience organically. The podcast launch plan so you can launch a podcast that positions you as an authority and you can use that to build your business. Launch Magic for creating cash injections on demand with your courses, programs, and memberships. And then Freedom Fast Track for the systems, the structure, and the strategy to scale a business that allows you to be profitable when you're offline. Notice how each of those different things is helping solve a problem that my ideal client has at different stages of the journey. Mistake number 4, my marketing calendar was ad hoc and I showed up whenever I felt like it. This podcast has been pretty consistent since day one, but the rest of my content, it really wasn't. And that's because I kept reinventing the wheel on every single platform. I'd think, I need to post to Instagram this week, but I don't feel inspired, so I'm not going to. And then I would have a week where I felt so inspired that I was posting every single day. Or I would think, I need to send an email to my list to promote the latest podcast episode. And I would sit down and the words just wouldn't come out. So now the only content that I focus on creating from scratch is these podcast episodes. And everything else, they cascade, they kind of flow on from these podcast episodes, right? They are repurposed. They are either content that is promoting the podcast episode, so content that is telling somebody to go and listen to it, or it is podcast content repurposed. So for example, the video from this podcast episode goes onto YouTube. It also gets cut into shorter form video for Reels, TikTok, and Shorts. And that means that I'm able to be consistent on a whole bunch of different platforms. And that's how I build trust with my audience, right? I'm not constantly having to reinvent the wheel. I'm not being ad hoc. I'm not showing up when I feel like it. My audience can count on me to show up 3 times a week on the podcast and nearly every day on Instagram. Okay, mistake number 5. I didn't have any sales processes in place. And I thought, if I could just put my courses up on my website, people would find them and they would buy them. And I did a couple of launches, but those were the only time that my courses actually sold. Because you need a sales process for somebody to buy. It's not enough to just talk about your offer. There needs to be a way that you are taking them on that journey to buying the offer, the way that you are bridging what I call the magician's gap. And live launches are one way to do that. But once you've live launched a few times and it's converting well, then yes, you can put it on Evergreen like I have with 2 of mine. And that means that I can drive traffic to the first step of the sales process. So the call to action isn't go and buy, offer less, sell more most of the time. The call to action is actually, hey, go and take my free masterclass. And then that masterclass, it covers the sales process into offer less, sell more. And that converts so much better for me than sending people straight to the sales page. Mistake number 6, I did all of the things in my business because I could do them without asking whether they were the best use of my time. I was in this mindset of saving money rather than asking, what is the opportunity cost of my time here? What else could I do that's a better use of my time and that will grow my business faster? And then once I started to hire, I also held on to control because I thought, oh, nobody else can do this as well as I can. And that led to them not doing it as well as I could because I wasn't setting them up to succeed. I wasn't giving clear instructions and I was hiring the wrong people for the task. Now that I know I can't have 100% control and have freedom as well, that's been so much more effective because now I can set my team up to succeed with good instructions. I can hire the right person for the task, or I can delegate the task to the right person in my team, and I can let go of it and not worry about it. So there you have it, 6 of the big mistakes that blocked freedom in my business. If you're not already subscribed to the show, hit the subscribe button and you'll get each new episode every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday straight to your podcast app of choice. Thanks so much for listening. Catch you next time.